So, in a recent interview, Coach Ed Orgeron was asked if he would ever join Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide, to which he vehemently said no, something I'm sure will upset many Alabama fans. However, in seriousness, the fact that the question was asked presents a much larger point, a point that we need to break down, and that's that the coaching rehab Nick Saban has put on at Alabama is insane. Something we've got to break down. But before we do, as always, y'all know the drill. I want to hear from you. Hop down to the comments. Y for yes, N for no. Are you surprised that Ed Orgeron wouldn't want to join Alabama and Nick Saban? And let me know what you're thinking. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification. I do constant college football content, and you don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoy the content, like and comment down below. Those interactions may seem small, but they are really massive to content creators such as myself, in both getting picked up and maintained by the YouTube algorithm. But with all of that being said, let's hop right into this. And as I stated in the intro, when asked if Coach Orgeron would ever join Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide, he vehemently said no, that he is an LSU Tiger. Even though he may not be coaching, he's an LSU fan, and he guaranteed he would not be joining the Crimson Tide. However, it does point to a much larger point. The fact that the question was asked points to something that we need to talk about, and that's that Nick Saban has had uncanny success running a coaching rehab clinic at the Crimson Tide. And we can talk about several different individuals, but before we even need to talk about that, we also need to look at the Saban tree in and of itself, because it continues to get more impressive. One Saban assistant just won a national championship. Another just brought in the #1 recruiting class in the nation. Another one of them just took over the job at Miami. Another at Florida. Lane Kiffin's at Ole Miss. Steve Sarkisian's at Texas. There are so many people that have gone on to have success, and so that coaching tree is impressive in and of itself. However, whenever we're talking about the quote-unquote rehabilitation center that Alabama has become for coaches, we can look at names such as Lane Kiffin, Steve Sarkisian, Butch Jones, Charlie Strong, and Bill O'Brien. And I'm probably missing some, but those are the names that come to the forefront of my mind. Because at the time Lane Kiffin was hired, there was a lot up in the air in regards to his career. Nick Saban ended up bringing him in, and he was able to transform the Alabama offense, something that continues to transform year by year. But Lane Kiffin came in and was able to learn from Saban, and in turn, Saban was able to get a revamped offense from Kiffin. Fast forward, and you have Steve Sarkisian, an individual who, to say his career was up in question, could be a massive understatement. Able to come to the Crimson Tide, ends up going from the Crimson Tide to the NFL, back to Alabama, wins a national championship, and is now the head coach at Texas. Butch Jones comes from Tennessee, works under Nick Saban as an analyst, and then goes elsewhere, as does Charlie Strong. And the newest name on this list is Bill O'Brien, because Bill O'Brien didn't have the most graceful exit from Houston. There was a lot that happened there that raised eyebrows. But at the end of the day, Nick Saban brings him in, and now that Alabama had a very potent offense, yet again, Bill O'Brien is getting looked at for NFL opportunities, only underscoring the point that the coaching rehab center Nick Saban has opened in Tuscaloosa is alive, well, and profiting. That right there is something that was really uncovered during the question to Ed Orgeron. Because sometimes the question in of itself is important, but what is the question really asking? That's of more importance. And in this case, the question is really asking, are you going to be the next coach in line that goes to Alabama, learns from Nick Saban, and can come out and find success on the other end, as so many before you have done? Whether that be Lane Kiffin, whether that be Steve Sarkisian, it could be Bill O'Brien next. It was Mike Locksley. There are so many names we can point to that have come to the Crimson Tide and left and then found success in some capacity. But the fact that the question was asked uncovers a much more pertinent point, and that is that Nick Saban has been on not only an insane run recruiting, not only an insane run in on-field production, not only an insane run in draft production, but also the ability to revitalize individuals' careers by bringing them into Tuscaloosa, taking what he can learn from them and teaching them what he can teach them in the time frame they're there. I've talked about this before, that in my opinion, as brilliant as Saban is as many compliments as we can give him, his ability to adapt is, in my opinion, up there with the most important. It's what led him to change Alabama's offense and completely change the trajectory of this program, a program that was always going to soar to heights. But whenever he realized where college football was heading and revitalized the offense, he allowed Alabama to soar to heights that otherwise may not have been possible in the same time frame. He has no qualms with change. You have this question, simple, silly, asked Ed Orgeron, will you join Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide, to which he says no. But if we really look at the devil of the details, the question is much larger than that. The question is really unveiling how much success Nick Saban has had no matter who he's been able to bring in. We talk about the success Saban has had as he brings in recruiting classes and sends guys in troves to the draft, and how the next year Alabama is there. But the same thing can be said with the coaching staff, because Alabama constantly loses coaches left, right, and center, and the result is still the same. I'm very interested in hearing from y'all about this. I know Alabama fans have been chirping at this comment for a while, and so it's something that I'm very interested in hearing from y'all. And so with that, that's it. See ya.